Oh, I'm loving this new music.
It's not bad.
Uh, there's an echo. I can hear myself from your side. This is the chill music option, not the chill hip hop. Chill option. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I might just let it run for a little bit. I can't.
I'm into it. Is the echo gone?
Yeah, the echo is gone. The echo is gone.
All right, cool. Turn it down a little bit. We're good.
Welcome in to the Bat Around, back at our normal day and time, Saturday, September 7th, 10 a.m. A beautiful day here in the neighborhood or in Baltimore or wherever you are watching from. Today's show brought to you by Royal Farms. School's back in session, and it's time for a roll call, a chicken roll call, that is. Right now at Royal Farms, you can get 9 chicken rolls for just $10. 9 freaking chicken rolls for just $10. In addition, a 10-piece dark Rofo chicken meal is just $15, and you can get 2 hot, good-to-go sandwiches for just $6. They are always coming at you with the deals. Get your neighborhood Rofo today to find out why they were voted #1 in the USA Today Reader's Choice poll for best gas station for food. Welcome in to the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He is Ryan Blake. Orioles coming off a 2-0 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays last night. Ryan, let's dive right into it. Dean Kremer, in his last start, takes a line drive off of his pitching arm, had a welt the size of a softball on his wrist. Brandon Hyde said he wasn't going to make his next start. Dean Kremer said, the hell I'm not. He goes out there last night, makes his start on regular rest. Spectacular. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. He carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning. He did not record an out in the 7th inning, but not for lack of trying. Ryan O'Hearn made an error in the inning. But then Yennier Cano comes into the game, bases loaded, nobody out, gets 2 strikeouts and a pop out to get out of the inning. What a job by Cano to get the job done, hold that 2-0 lead for the Orioles. It was a score that they would not relinquish, and they won by that score 2-0 over the Rays. Shane Baz, tough luck loser. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Takes the loss for the Rays last night because their offense just couldn't get it going. Somebody that could get it going, right, who has been getting it going for the last couple weeks now, Gunnar Henderson. 2 for 4, another home run to add to his all-time single-season record for home runs by shortstop in Orioles history, his 36th last night. Your thoughts on the game last night?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch too much of it. I was following it on my phone. Shout out to our lovely friends Tim and Tara. They're getting married today, so we're actually down at the Hyatt in Cambridge. So I was following the game on my phone from the little welcome party last night, and I saw that Kremer was doing his thing. I called a buddy of mine. I said, hey, listen, I'm at a party. Do I stay where I am and risk not being able to watch it? Do I go back to my room and turn it on and risk being the reason he loses it if jinxes are in fact real? I ended up staying where I was. He gave up the no-hitter anyway. But hey, after coming off what he did in his last start, like you said, softball size, just absolute welt on his wrist. It looked awful. I thought he was absolutely going on the 15-day IL. To come out and deal the way he did last night was massive, especially on the night when the offense wasn't great. But you mentioned Gunnar Henderson coming through with another home run. It's amazing what happens when you put Gunnar Henderson in the leadoff spot. He looks like Gunnar Henderson again. It's where I think he should have been all along. I'm not sure why Hyde mixed with what was working well for him. And I know you're going to talk about some of his splits based on lineup position a little bit later, but I love Gunnar in the leadoff spot. I want my best hitter hitting as often as possible. I think getting on base and generating runs that way is just important as driving them in. Gunnar Henderson should be our leadoff hitter until someone else proves they can handle that role. Really good to see him come through with another home run and RBI last night.
Yeah, and he's just 3 stolen bases away from having himself a 2020 season. It'll be more like a 40-20 season for him, but still, that's a big number for him to reach. I think he's going to reach. And you look at what Gunnar's done since basically August 14th. Batting average, not great, 250, but he's got 340 on base percentage, a 524 slugging percentage, and 864 OPS. In those 22 games, 7 home runs, 2 doubles, 16 RBI, 11 walks, and 20 strikeouts. So I like the strikeout to walk ratio. Considering I believe he leads the team in strikeouts, but he is certainly starting to tear the cover off the ball again. Here's the problem, because it's me. There's always got to be a problem, right? The defense, man. 2 more errors last night. He made a costly error in the 9th inning. They would have been a game-ending double play, and he booted it, and they didn't get any outs on the play. Luckily, Sir Anthony Dominguez managed to get out of the inning anyway and preserve the 2-0 win. But Gunnar's defense, has it become a problem for you, Ryan?
It's so tough to judge players on defense with all the new metrics that are out, right? It used to be where you look at how many errors a guy makes, and if he makes, more than 10 errors in a season, he's a bad defender. I don't think that Gunnar Henderson is a bad defender. With that said, the routine plays have to be made. The routine throws have to be made. And we're seeing more and more often that that's not happening. He still goes out and makes a couple really nice plays every game. A nice over-the-shoulder catch running into the outfield, or a nice play going to his right in the hole at third base. He still makes very good defensive plays, and I do think he is a very good defender. But when these error numbers are piling up, he's up to 23 on the season. That's a huge, huge number. So it's definitely something that we want to see, go down over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at it like he's the best player on the team. He's the best. He's the best player on the team. He's likely to earn a big contract. Hopefully, not likely. He's going to earn a big contract. Hopefully, from the Orioles. That's a guy who's going to play shortstop every day, right? Every day for this ball club. You look at a guy like Fernando Tatis, a perennial MVP candidate. In 2021, he hit 42 home runs to lead the majors, and he did that in 130 games. Big time player who was just made so many errors at shortstop that they moved him to right field. I'm not saying that they need to move Gunnar Henderson to right field. I'm not saying they need to move him off a shortstop, but it's not unheard of to make a move with a guy if he's hurting you. I don't think he hurts you the way Fernando Tatis hurts you defensively, and he's just 23 years old. He's a guy who's going to figure it out defensively. He's going to make the miraculous play. I still believe he has a positive outs above average number in that category. So I'm not too concerned about it. Sometimes they become more glaring when they hurt the team, when the team's not scoring a ton of runs. Every little error is a big deal, right? I think as he matures, as he gets older, he'll start to get better defensively, but he still makes spectacular plays almost on a nightly basis. We're just so used to seeing guys like, Cal and Mike Bordick and J.J. Hardy, who fundamentally sound, right? They just make they square up to the ball, they get the glove in the dirt, they field it, they make the throw, and they get the out. Gunnar, he's constantly fielding the ball on the move, because they teach you these days that you want to get as much momentum behind the baseball as possible as you're fielding it and making that throw to first base. Unfortunately, that's going to cause a lot of errors, a lot of balls that are going to hit off the heel of his glove if it takes the wrong kind of hop, or a lot of throws that could go wayward because he's throwing on the run and maybe he doesn't get a good release point because of that. It's all a timing thing. It's all a tempo thing. And sometimes the timing and the tempo is off. But I'm not really concerned about Gunnar's defense, because if he's going to do what he's done for the last 6 games, which is hit .435 with 3 homers and 7 RBI, I can forgive a little bit of shoddy defense every now and again.
Absolutely.
So, Ryan, the Orioles, they started last weekend playing the Colorado Rockies. They entered September, the end of August into September, hitting a bit of a softer point in their schedule. They take 2 or 3 from the Rockies. They take 2 or 3 from the White Sox. The White Sox won. They won the first 2 games, and they lost in terrible fashion, 8-1 in the final game of that series. Went 6-1 against the White Sox overall this season, which is really good. It is hard to sweep a series. Are we okay with simply winning both of those series, or do the Orioles need to sweep at least one of those teams?
I'm okay with it, but it leaves a lot to be desired. You're playing against 2 really bad teams. You have the most wins in the American League. The White Sox are the worst baseball team in the modern era. I think especially with how dominant the Orioles were over that team the first 2 games of that series, getting shellacked in Game 3 by an 8-1 score, it's a tough look. Now, the same White Sox team less than a month ago beat the New York Yankees by 10 runs. So
Mhm.
things happen. This is baseball.
The Angels just beat the Dodgers. The Angels have the third worst record in baseball. They beat the Dodgers the other day, 10-1.
Yeah, yeah, it happens, and I'm sure Dodgers fans are sick over that too. It's look, 4-2 against any team is a good record, right? Or any combination of teams. Um, of course, you want to go out and sweep one of those series, but the Yankees were having trouble with Texas. The Orioles jumped back to a half-game lead in first place. With that in mind, I'm okay with it. But yeah, of course you want to come out and sweep the worst team in maybe baseball history. Of course you want to.
Mhm.
But you can live with 2 out of 3 because if you keep stacking 2 wins in every series, you're going to be okay.
Isn't there a song where I go 2 out of 3 ain't bad or something like that?
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Look, honestly, if they just keep winning series, they should be okay. I was nervous with the series opener yesterday against the Rays. I know that this Orioles offense has been um, lacking over the last month and a half, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later in the show as well, like we do every week. It feels like, and you see Shane Baz going up against you with Dean Kremer on the bump for you, and it's hard to have a lot of confidence going into that game. The Orioles pulled it out; they won that game 2-0. So now you just have to win one of the next 2 games. You've got your 2 best pitchers in Zach Eflin and Corbin Burns going the final 2 games of this series. Win one of those games, the Orioles could get the sweep. We said last week, the Orioles got to make a run, and it starts today. That was on Sunday. They went out, they beat the Rockies that day. They took 2 or 3 from the White Sox. If they somehow manage to sweep this series, what do we say? 5-1 would be an excellent week for the Orioles. It starts today, meaning last Sunday. They're 4-1 in September. They've won 4 of their last 5 games with a great opportunity in front of them to pull out a series sweep, if not just a series victory against the Rays. And that puts them in good position. They're going to have to go play the Tigers and Boston and San Francisco. And, those are going to be some tough series, but the Orioles should be, in my opinion, the Orioles are the better team in all of those series. You're putting yourself in good position right now. Just keep winning series. Finish the year strong with a winning record in September after losing records in both July and August. And then you're hot at the right time. You're getting momentum headed into the postseason. I think we can all live with the Orioles taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies and the White Sox if they didn't take 2 out of 3 from Tampa and from Boston and from Detroit. I think that that's a good sign for this team.
Yeah, and good news for Orioles fans. I have the Rays are putting Ryan Pepio out on the mound today, Zach Littell tomorrow. I have Pepio on one of my fantasy baseball playoff teams. I have Zach Littell on the other. That means they're going to struggle. I've had a bad week. I'm probably going to get knocked out of the playoffs in both of those leagues. So if you're on my fantasy team, you're probably not having a good week. That's good news for the Orioles because I have both Rays starters this weekend.
And if you're basing your sports betting off of Ryan's fantasy team's performances, you're probably having a bad week. Which reminds me that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's a pretty good segue. Last week's
It was. You nailed that one.
Last week's segues weren't great, but today we've got a lot of reads in a short amount of time. We have a hard stop at 11 today, guys, because I got a lot of stuff to do today. So we're going to just get after it here. We were talking about how Gunnar Henderson is leading the charge for the Orioles offense. Some nights it seems like he's the only guy who's managing to swing the bat at all. Return to the leadoff position, as you alluded to a little bit earlier, Ryan, last Saturday with a brief return to the 3-hole on Sunday. In his last 5 games batting leadoff since last Saturday, last 4 games. This isn't updated. This stat line because through last night, but it hit 400, 500, 684, 1184, 2 home runs, a double, 6 RBI, 3 walks, a hit by pitch, 3 Ks. This part is updated. In now 101 games batting leadoff, Gunnar is slashing 294, 376, 590 with a 966 OPS, 30 home runs, 20 doubles, 5 triples, 65 RBI, and 83 runs scored. To compare that, in 32 games batting third, he's slashing 254, 333, 421 with a 754 OPS, just 5 home runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 17 RBI, and 21 runs scored. And then just for fun, in 7 games batting cleanup this year, 217, 400, 391, 791, a double, a home run, 2 RBI, 4 runs. The whole point of this is Gunnar needs to be hitting leadoff. There's a point in time this year where I was saying, this dude is too damn good. He's got to hit third. Let's move somebody else into the leadoff spot so that Gunnar can be in the middle of the order and produce for this team the way he's capable of. Now, the guy's got to bat leadoff. He's got to get the most at-bats on the team because he's the best player, the best hitter. He's proving that in the leadoff spot, he is a masher. 10 leadoff home runs this year. Keep Gunnar hitting first. I understand why Brandon Hyde would want to move him out of that spot because he wants to put him in a bigger run-producing role. But we've gotten to the point now where it's clear as day he needs to be hitting leadoff for this ball club.
Yeah, and, you talk about being in a run-producing role in the middle of the lineup. Yeah, that's all well and good. But, like I said a few minutes ago, getting on base and allowing your teammates to drive you in, scoring runs is just as important as driving them in. So I want my best hitter who's going to be on base more than anybody. I want him hitting at the top of the lineup. Get on base. He can take a bag if he wants. He can start the game with a homer, which sets the tone. Although he did that the other night against the White Sox, and it was the only run the Orioles scored, and he did it before I got to my seat. But yeah, he's a leadoff hitter, like I said, until someone else proves they can handle that spot. Maybe it's eventually going to be Colton Cowser. Maybe it's eventually going to be Jackson Holliday. I don't know, but right now it's Gunnar Henderson. Hyde, keep him there, please. Please.
Absolutely.
Please, please.
I want to remind you, today's show is brought to you by the Arthur Mollett Show, which kicks off this Tuesday, September 10th. You can join Glenn, Rita, Arthur, and his special guests all season long as they travel the region, allowing you to get up close and personal with your favorite players. The September 10th show is live from the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road. You can find the entire schedule at PressBoxOnline.com/Mollett. If you can't make it out, watch the show on PressBox's Facebook or YouTube page, or listen Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. See you September 10th at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill for the first Arthur Mollett show. All right, Ryan. Gunnar leading the charge for the Orioles offense, the only one leading the charge. They came up short again last night. I put that in the notes before the game even started yesterday because I saw Shane Baz was going to be on the mound. And you know, if you watch this team like you and I watch this team, you know. Now, back in June when they were fully healthy and they were feeling themselves and they were the best team in baseball, they were going out against guys like Zach Wheeler and putting up eight runs. They've handled some really solid starting pitching this year, but they haven't done it recently. Last night, just 2 runs on 4 hits. Adley with another 0 for 4 and nothing but weak contact. He popped up on a 2-0 high fastball that was about 4 inches above the zone. He had a weak loop out to shortstop on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that was literally right down the freaking middle of the plate, the first pitch of the at-bat. If you're swinging first pitch of the at-bat, so you're clearly looking fastball, and you get one right down the middle, that ball should be on Utah Street. But instead, he was late on it and hit a weak looping fly ball out to shortstop for an out. And then a weak fly out to right field in his fourth at bat on a fastball 6 inches above the zone. 6 inches. I mean, literally, if you look at this at the StatCast page on MLB.com, not StatCast, but if you look at the box on MLB.com, the top of the strike zone is here, and the ball that he swung at was here. It was a solid 6 inches above the strike zone. Flies out. The Orioles have scored 3 runs or less, 10 of their last 19 games. They are 4-6 in those games. In their last 19 games, they have faced a starter with a sub-4.75 ERA 10 times. The last time they faced a starter with an ERA below 4.75 and scored more than 3 runs off of them was August 20th when they scored 7 off of Jose Quintana, who entered that game with a 4.26 ERA. Since then, last night, Shane Baz, 3.49 ERA. They scored 2 runs. Jonathan Cannon the other day for the White Sox, they scored 4.70 ERA, 1 run. Austin Gomer for the Rockies, a 4.70 ERA, they scored 3 runs. Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers, a 3 ERA, they scored 3 runs. Yusei Kikuchi, a 4.37 ERA, 3 runs. Framber Valdez, 3.20, 3 runs. Hunter Brown, 3.82, 2 runs. Sean Manaea, 3.46, 3 runs. He took a perfect game into the 6th inning. Cutter Crawford, 4.17 ERA, 3 runs. And only 3 of those games did they score more runs after the starter left the game, meaning did they add on to their run total after the starter left the game. You play 19 games, 10 times. You face a starter with an ERA, not even an ERA below 4, an ERA below 4 and 4.75, and you can't put up more than 3 runs. It just shows you that right now this Orioles offense, unless the guy has a 5.5 ERA, basically, they're going to struggle to score runs and put together big hits. And the issue here is I just think that this team is too homer happy. I really do. I think that they're just trying to tear the cover off the ball. Adley Rutschman is a prime example of this. You're looking fastball. You swing at the first pitch. You have to be sitting dead red on the fastball. He's late and bloops it out to shortstop for an out. This team has gotten away from what made them so good with runners in scoring position last year, what made them so good the first half of the season, which is getting your pitch, putting the ball in play, making solid contact, and trusting. If you put a good swing on it, the ball's going to go out of the ballpark. You don't have – if you try to hit home runs, you're not going to hit home runs. You have to go out there, just focus on putting a good swing on the ball, and those home runs are going to come.
Yeah, and being homer happy isn't the worst thing in the world when you're actually hitting them. When you're struggling to, put any kind of production out there, it looks like a problem because in, big spots, guys come up and they're swinging for the fences. That's not necessarily what you need to be doing. Now, that recipe could work in certain situations, but it's not working right now. And you look at especially like Adley Rutschman. We talked about him extensively last week. The entire approach has just broken down. He like you said, 95-mile-an-hour first pitch fastball right down the middle to a guy who never swings at the first pitch, and he decides to swing, bloops it out to shortstop. It's hard to watch, man, because we know what these guys are capable of. We know how talented this lineup is, top to bottom, and in big spots, they have to be willing to, get guys the extra base, try to hit a line drive into the gap. You don't have to hit every pitch 450 feet. When it's working for you, sure, swing for the fences. You got a 3-run lead and a couple guys on base, yeah, try to put the game away. But when you're scratching and clawing for every run, which feels like that's been the case for the Orioles for several months now, you got to be able to execute in those kind of spots. Whether it's via the home run or, a bloop RBI single, something's got to give. And right now, the approach doesn't seem to be working.
Something's got to give. It's not a new song by All Time Low, but I just discovered it myself like a few weeks ago, and I love that song. It's in my head like most days. But anyway,
I saw them live at Merriweather a couple weeks ago. Heck of a show,
dude. I love All Time Low, and I only my wife introduced me to them like 2 years ago, which I'd heard of them before, but I was never really into that whole kind of like when they first came out. It was like that kind of emo scene. You know what I mean? And I was never really into it, but their new music is really freaking good. It's really, and even the stuff from back then, like Dear Maria, Count Me In, good song. Like they have some really, really good songs, and their new stuff is just awesome. Anyway, I digress. The Orioles offense has to get it going, especially as you're only going to face good pitching when you get into the playoffs, and you need to be able to hit that good pitching. And it's crazy how much of a difference it makes when you don't have Jordan Westburg and you don't have Ryan Mountcastle in the lineup. Like Mountcastle maybe sapped for power, but you could count on him to get to drive a ball to right field for a base hit every now and again. And since he's been gone, like you've another song, Kelly Clarkson, since he's been gone.
Don't do that again.
You know what? Whatever. I'm having a great day. I'm in a good mood today.
Yeah, hey, I'm hungover, so I'm in that mood.
I can kind of tell your voice sounds like you're hungover.
It's a wedding weekend, man. We're at a hotel.
Yeah.
When in
Treat
Rome.
yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like Adley in the dugout the day after they clinched last year.
Yeah. Oh man, bring Fuji back just for the vibes.
Please.
Dude,
he's been crushing it in the minors the last like month and a half or so. He had a really bad stretch earlier this year, but he's been looking really good. I'm a big Fuji guy, man.
Yeah, I would love to have him back because I think that if you can harness his ability, he can really be a lethal weapon for you out of the bullpen. I think he wants to start though. Has he been starting in the minors?
I don't think so. No, he's got like 13 innings the last month, so I don't think he's in a starting role. But dude, maybe it's a vibes thing. I'd rather have Fuji in the bullpen with a 4.50 ERA than Birch Smith with a 3.50. Like I'm sorry, that's just I love Fuji. I love a guy who can pump 102 with a wipeout splitter. He's fun to watch.
When he is on, he is dominant. He's dominant. I mean, Tanner Scott, it took him, 6 years to figure it out, but he finally did. And now he got a king. You would have thought they would have given up a king's ransom for him. They really only gave up one top 100 player to get him. The Padres did. But, I mean, he was the most coveted reliever at the trade deadline. Like, Fuji can be that guy. He's just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Kevin Brown, Mike Florio, Trey Wingo, and three-time Super Bowl champion Devin McCourty, you can find them all right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com, and watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, or right here on Facebook and YouTube. Ryan, we haven't done one in a while. It's time for Soft Toss with Ryan Blake. What you got for us today?
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring us two, and I'll keep them short. First one being Seth Johnson is being promoted by the Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow to make his Major League debut against the Miami Marlins. And guess who's on the Miami Marlins? Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. I am very much looking forward to this matchup. I think it's cool that they're giving Seth Johnson a chance. I thought maybe he could be a September call-up with the Orioles this year. They trade him for Gregory Soto, who got off to a really rough start, but to Soto's credit, he's been much better as of late. But I'm excited to see what Seth Johnson does in his big league debut. He'll be going up against a couple other former Oriole prospects. It's going to be fun. It might hurt a little bit, but I'm personally looking forward to it because I think it's going to be cool. Second quick thing I wanted to say, the Orioles had a StatCast broadcast earlier this week. Alex Fast, who we had on Give That Fan a Podcast back in the day, was the third member of the booth with Kevin Brown and Ben McDonald. And what a cool broadcast that was.
Yeah, I
Super
really
happy
like
for
it.
Alex. He's a good dude, a true Orioles fan. Works for Major League Baseball, has done writing with Pitcher List. For him to be able to go out there and hold his own in the booth, I thought he was really, really good. Just shout out to Alex. I just thought that was cool, and I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, really cool hearing them talk about spin rate on different pitches, and just hearing them talk about the analytical side of baseball. It was really cool. He did a great job. I wasn't sure what to expect coming from that broadcast, but I found myself really entertained by it. It was great information. It kind of shows you that other side of the game. I'm very John Smoltz when it comes to baseball, where I'm just like, you have to pass my eye test, and I don't care what your WAR is. Like, I like batting average and RBIs and stuff like that. So I'm very old school when it comes to that stuff. But like, this really kind of like opened my eyes to some stuff that most people aren't too privy to. You know what I mean?
And it's cool. Like, yeah, batting average, it might be a little bit outdated, but it's still a good stat. Like, it's interesting to see how, the kind of old school numbers that, the sexy numbers that we like to look at, and the more modern things that kind of look under the hood a little bit. It's really cool to see how those can really mesh and coexist in the baseball world. So nice to see a broadcast like that. I hope we get to see more things like that. I know ESPN will once in a while do their Nerdcast on ESPN2 for Sunday Night Baseball. I always enjoy tuning into that as well. Kevin Brown's often on the play-by-play. But I enjoy seeing how, those kind of two different styles of thinking can coexist in a booth, especially with, Ben McDonald, who was a pitcher in the 80s and 90s. For him to have evolved a little bit, and he's talking about spin rate and vertical break and asking Alex questions because he wants to learn. Just really cool. I enjoy it. I'm, as a baseball nerd, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I agree with you. As far as Seth Johnson, look, they traded him for Gregory Soto. And Gregory Soto got off to such a bad start. It was like, how could you trade one of your best pitching prospects for this guy? The fact that we're not talking about Gregory Soto on these shows is a good thing, because it means that he's doing his job, right? Seth Johnson, 26 years old, about to make his Major League debut tomorrow. We'll see how he does. I don't think a team that is lacking starting pitching depth needs to be trading starting pitching. But again, 26 years old, he hasn't debuted yet. We'll see how he does. And if Gregory Soto continues to pitch well and is a big part of the Orioles' success moving forward, then I think I have to be okay with that trade. But if, Soto is giving up home runs in October and I'm watching Seth Johnson pitch to a 3.5 ERA for the Phillies for the next 5 years, I'm probably going to feel some kind of way about it,
Yeah.
But, I wish him the absolute best, really hoping that he goes out there and shoves. He'll probably have a little bit of growing pains, because everybody does, but, really hoping for the best for Seth Johnson.
Yeah.
All right.
And even if just real quick, even if Seth
Yeah.
Johnson goes out and he's a 3.5 ERA pitcher for the Phillies, if Chase McDermott can be that for the Orioles, then the O's won the Trey Mancini trade. They got both of those guys, one from Tampa, one from Houston. Johnson, of course, gone. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we still have Chase McDermott from that trade, and hopefully he can hold his own in the rotation the next few years.
Hopefully. Today's show brought to you by the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Raven star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from being the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL, though you didn't hear his name too much the other night. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. You can find that print issue of Press Box all throughout the region, including in 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. It is now time for our AL contenders wrap-up. Aaron Judge doubled home run, and Austin Wells laced a 2-run single and a 3-run third to provide all the scoring Luis Gil would need in his return from the IL, as he'll deliver one of his best starts of the season, holding the Cubs to 1 hit and 2 walks over 6 shutout innings in the Yankees' 3-0 victory to keep them a half game back of the Orioles. Tommy Pham, Hunter Renfroe, and Michael Massey combined for 7 hits and 4 ribeye steaks to back 6 shutout innings from Cole Riggins, who picked up his 200th strikeout in a 5-0 Royals victory over the Twins. It was the Royals' second consecutive victory following their 7-game losing streak. The victory leapfrogged Kansas City over Minnesota by a half game for the second wild card spot. And finally, Andres Jimenez hit a 2-run homer in the 6th to break a scoreless tie. And Matthew Boyd fired 6 innings of 1-run ball to lead the Guardians over the Dodgers 3-1. The Guardians, along with the Yankees, remain a half game back of the Orioles for the best record in the AL with 3 weeks left in the season. As for today's game, Zach Eflin takes the mound against the Orioles, looking to continue his stretch of dominance since coming over at the deadline. He is 5-0 with a 1.95 ERA and 0.96 WHIP in 5 starts with the Orioles. Overall, he is 10-7 with a 3.60 ERA and 1.12 WHIP. One of those 5 starts came against his former club when Eflin shut down the Rays on August 9th, firing 7 shutout innings while allowing just 4 hits and 1 walk and striking out 7. All told, Eflin is 1-1 with a 2.51 ERA in 3 games, including 2 starts against Tampa Bay, allowing 4 runs in 14 of the third innings while walking 3 and striking out 12. Ryan Tampa Bay will counter with right-handed pitcher Ryan Pepiot, who is famously on your fantasy team. And he is looking to get back on track after needing 89 pitches to get through just 3 innings against San Diego in his most recent start when he allowed 3 runs on 4 hits and 4 walks in those 3 innings. Pepiot is 7-6 with a 3.76 ERA and 1.124 WHIP in 21 starts this season. He was absolutely dominant for two full months, pitching to a 1.88 ERA in 7 starts from June 26th to August 26th. So the Orioles are going to struggle with him today. In his lone start versus Baltimore this season and in his career, Pepiot took the loss, allowing 4 runs on 9 hits, including 2 home runs, while striking out 9 in 6 innings pitched back on June 4th. He also didn't walk anybody in that game. Ryan O'Hearn, Ryan Mountcastle, Gunnar Henderson, and James McCann recorded 2 hits apiece against Pepiot in the game, the latter 2 each homering, of course, that being Gunnar and James McCann. Ryan Mountcastle, of course, is on the IL. The other hit was picked up by Colton Cowser. And with that in mind, Ryan, the possible lineup for today. I've got Gunnar Henderson leading off playing shortstop, Adley Rutschman batting second and DHing, Ryan O'Hearn batting third playing first base, Anthony, I left out a catcher, didn't I?
You just throw him at the end.
Yeah. Anthony Santander batting fourth playing right field, Colton Cowser batting fifth playing left field, Cedric Mullins batting sixth playing center field, Jackson Holliday batting seventh playing second base, Kobe Mayo batting eighth playing third base, and James McCann Actually, I think what I'm going to do here is I think we're going to see McCann hit after Jackson, but before Mayo. So I'm going to put McCann batting eighth and catching. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's certainly the lineup that I want to see on paper. Whether they come through against Ryan Pepiot, I don't know. But, you mentioned James McCann, a couple hits off of him last time they saw each other. I think that's deserving of a start, especially when you consider Adley's struggles. You think maybe giving Adley a full day off instead of DHing him might bode well for him? I think he's due for one personally. But 1 through 9, that's about what I'm expecting to see.
You know what? That's a good point. Rutschman could use a day off. Eloy hasn't played in a couple of days. So why don't we put Santander batting second and playing right field, and we'll put Eloy batting fourth and DH. I think
Sure.
that could help, or could be it, not help. Help what? But I think that could be the lineup that we see today. As far as what's on tap, Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, the Orioles will conclude their series with Tampa Bay, both the weekend series and the season series, with a 12:05 start time on Sunday, a little earlier than usual. Corbin Burnes takes the mound looking to build off his latest performance where he picked up his first win in 4 weeks. Gosh, that doesn't sound real.
All right.
His first win in 4 weeks by allowing 2 runs, just 1 earned in 5 innings against the White Sox. Both runs came in the first inning, and both runners reached on kind of weak contact. So not super concerning there, but you want to see shutout performances from Corbin Burnes. Zach Littell will oppose Burnes, looking to limit the Orioles for a 4th time this season. In his previous 3 starts versus Baltimore in 2024, Littell has allowed 9 runs, 7 earned over 17 innings, going 1-1 in the process. After their series with Tampa Bay, the Orioles will travel to Boston for a 3-game series beginning Monday night before an off day on Thursday as they travel to Detroit for a 3-game weekend series with the Tigers to conclude the week. Boston found themselves in the thick of the wild card race after a win on August 21st, improved them to 67-60, which was good for 2.5 games up for the 3rd wild card spot. But since then, they have lost 10 of 14.
It's 11 of 14. It's 10 of 14. It's 10 of 14.
They've lost 10 of 14 since then to drop them to 71-70 and 5 games back of a playoff spot. Detroit, on the other hand, entered the All-Star break at 47-50. They were 6.5 games back of Boston for the final wildcard spot, but they have gone 24-21 since, including 16-8 since a 3-game losing streak concluded back on August 10th. Paul, the Orioles are 10 games up on the Seattle Mariners currently as the last team out in the playoffs. We could be talking next week's show. We could have a magic number creeping down towards 0. Like it's in the cards. The Orioles could clinch, pretty soon.
This is what we talked about on the show, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, where I was saying, the Orioles, the last half of August is going to be a tough stretch for them, but they get into September. If they tread water through the end of August and they get into September with that softer schedule, we could be talking about a playoff spot clinched, by the 3rd week of September. We are in the first week right now. They've got 2 more games against Tampa Bay. And then they've got 3 against Boston, 3 against Detroit, 3 against the Giants, and then another 3 against Detroit. If the Orioles can find a way, you figure that's, what is that? That's, 12, 14 games. In the next 14 games, if the Orioles can go, let's say, 8-6, that puts them at 90 wins. That puts them at 90-66. If the Orioles get to 90 wins by the end of, not next week, but the week after, they're in the playoffs. They're going to clinch a playoff spot. They may clinch before then. If they can go, like you said, we could be talking about a scenario where the Orioles clinch a playoff spot. Because, let's look at the standings here real quick. I know that the Mariners are 5 games out of a wild card spot and they're 10 games behind the Orioles for that final wild card spot. But right now, 72-70. The Red Sox are 71-70. Detroit is 71-71. Right? If the Orioles, win, let's say that they win, what have they got? 8 games coming up. If they go 5-3 in those 8 games, it puts them at 87-63. Right? Puts them at 87-63. If the Mariners over those 8 games go 5-3, they're still 10 games back. There's no way that the Orioles are losing 10 of their last 15 games.
Yeah. So let's see. 10 games up with 20 to play. That puts the magic number at 10, right? Currently?
10 games up with they have 20 to play. Yeah, you're right.
I'm not seeing elimination numbers or magic numbers or anything on the standings, at least not on the at-bat app quite yet. I'm sure that's coming in the next week or so. But yeah, I think 10 games up with 20 to play, because if the Mariners get to, if they get to 90 wins, they're going to finish 18-2. That's how they would get to 90 wins, and the Orioles just need 8 wins to get there themselves. So I think that means the magic number is 10. I'm not good at calculating that, but that's what I'm inclined to believe. So we
So
could be talking about a magic number of 3 or 4 this time next week.
so the Orioles' magic number over the other teams in the American League. They've already clinched over the White Sox, the Angels, and the Athletics. Their magic number to clinch over the Blue Jays is 6. Over the Rangers is 7. Tampa Bay is 9. And then the 3 teams that are, the closest to the wild card, and they're all 5 games or more out of that third wild card spot, Detroit, the Red Sox, and the Mariners. Their magic number over Detroit is 10. Over the Red Sox and the Mariners, it's 11. Then you get into the teams that are in playoff position. Their magic number over the Twins and the Royals is 16, as the same with the Astros, and it's 21 over the Yankees and Guardians. So basically, the magic number is a combination of Orioles wins and these other teams' losses.
Yeah.
So you need to have a combination of 11 Orioles wins and
or Mariners losses. So the
Mariners
factor,
losses.
Yeah, the other factor here is that the Orioles have already won the season series over both Seattle and Boston. So that cuts that magic number by 1 more, because if they end up tied, the Orioles get, they get the bump for winning the season series, and that is the tiebreaker for playoffs.
They've also won the season series against the Royals, the Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Rangers. Now, the Blue Jays, Rangers, and Rays, the Rays are right behind Detroit. All these teams have to get super hot. The Orioles don't really have to worry about Texas and Toronto. They don't really have to worry about any of these teams that are on the outside looking in, because, they have to make a run that they just haven't made this year, aside from maybe Boston, right? But the Orioles have won the season series against Kansas City, and they need 1 more win to win the season series against both Minnesota and the Yankees, because they swept Minnesota. So if the Orioles get 1 more win, and their last 2 series of the year are against the Yankees and Minnesota, you're looking at the fact that they're probably going to have a playoff spot clinched by the time they get to those series. I would say most likely they'll have a playoff spot clinched.
Yeah.
Really, if the Orioles get to here's an easy way to do it, right? Because if the Orioles get to 92 wins, if they get to 92 wins, Seattle, Boston, and Detroit cannot pass them.
Right.
So 10 more wins. 10 more wins and the Orioles are in the playoffs is essentially what we're looking at here. And that's only if Seattle, Boston, and Detroit go on 10-game winning streaks.
Yeah.
Boston would need, Detroit would need an 11-game winning streak, but that's only if they go on 10-game winning streaks. So if you look at it, the Orioles can have a playoff spot clinched a week from Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately could. Now, they lost the season series to both Cleveland and Houston. So they're going to have to finish with a better record than both of those teams. I think Houston, that's a foregone conclusion. The Orioles have a 6-game lead on them, and probably a little bit of a softer. What's Houston's schedule look like?
Oh, I have no idea.
Houston's in the process of playing Arizona right now.
Yes.
Then they've got
shut them out last night, I believe.
They've got Oakland, the Angels, the Padres, the Angels, the Mariners, and Cleveland. So they've got 3 series that they should certainly win, and then 3 series that could go either way. You know what I mean? So, but Houston, I'm not too concerned about. Cleveland, if you want the 1 seed, so that you have the bye and you get to be the home. What is it? Home field advantage. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. You've got to just finish with a better record than Cleveland. That may be difficult, but just win the division. The 2 seed gets a bye, correct? The top 2 seeds get byes.
Top 2 seeds, yeah.
Top 2 seeds get byes, and then hope that Cleveland loses in the division series and you win, so you can face whoever it is you have to face in the ALCS. You get to the ALCS, all bets are off. You're playing with house money at that point. But playoff clinching scenarios, you're going to start seeing more about this in the next few days, I think, because the Orioles, a lot of these teams in the American League, these division leaders, they are right on the cusp of getting that magic number countdown. Again, Orioles could clinch a playoff spot in a week and a half. legitimately. All right. I want to remind you, today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone. High school sports season is officially underway. County Sports Zone will be reporting every score from every event with every school at every level throughout the state, all academic year long. So check it all out right now at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Man, we are rolling right along. We are at an excellent pace today. I was actually nervous that we were finishing up too soon, and then you started talking about magic number scenarios, and that was a really nice segment. Man, you are hurting right now, aren't you?
I've been better.
Yeah.
I'm good though.
It seems like you're hurting.
I got another 15 minutes in me.
All right.
Now I'll go get a coffee once the show's over.
All right. Take the rake. Man, Kobe Mayo and the Orioles. More so the Orioles than Kobe Mayo.
Yeah, play the man.
They have burned you twice with him. You thought he was getting called up. He didn't. You took him. He didn't even make it to the majors. And then you took him now. He got 2 games, 1 for 6 with 3 strikeouts. I took Anthony Santander. He went 6 for 18, a double, 3 RBIs, 4 walks. He slashed 333, 435, 389, 824, which means I win. I move to 9-6 with 4 ties. So we've got just a few weeks left of the regular season, and I've got a 3-game lead on you, my man. You gotta get hot here. And you know who I'm taking. I'm taking Gunnar.
Yeah.
I gotta take Gunnar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who you got?
This might be wishful thinking again. I'm gonna take Heston. No, I'm kidding. Tony Taters.
Tony Taters.
I want Tony Taters.
I thought you were going to say Adley, but
he's one of the few guys that I think is going to be in the lineup every day. He's been a solid contributor all year. I'm curious to see the battle to 40 home runs between Gunnar and Tony, because for a while it looked like Tony was going to beat him there by a landslide. Gunnar's right on his tail. He had 36 last night. Tony's still sitting on 39. So we'll see how it goes. It should be a fun finish, but I really want to see them both get to 40.
We talked about it last week, how I said I was taking Tony, and I was like, oh, but he's 1 away from 40. He may be trying too hard to not get there for a little bit of time. I mean, he did well. He got his base hits. He got on base. He had 6 base hits, and he had 4 walks. He did what he needed to do. No home runs, though. The home runs are going to come. It will be interesting if Gunnar can find a way to pass him. It would be amazing, because Gunnar went 2 months where he hit like 4 home runs.
Yeah.
And Tony's hit at least 7 home runs each of the last 3 months.
Yeah.
13, 9, and 7, I believe, is the totals there. So
Gunnar, I think Gunnar had gotten to 28 when Tony was still sitting at like 17 or 18. And then Tony just went on a run and absolutely took the lead. So it'll be a fun battle to the finish line. Like I said, I want to see them both get to 40. I think that would be awesome. But hopefully Santander gets it pretty early this week and then can settle in and knock a few more and give me a little victory here and take the rate.
Have the Orioles ever had 2 40 home run hitters in the same season?
That I couldn't tell you. I could find out real quick, but
so I know Brady Anderson hit 50 the 1 year and Palmeiro hit 39. I don't think they had anybody that was close to Frank Robinson. Nobody that was close to Nelson Cruz. And I know in 2016, Trumbo hit 47 and Davis hit 38. But I don't think they've ever had 2 guys with 40 homers in the same season.
So 40 homer seasons for the Orioles. You got Nelson Cruz in 2014, Palmeiro in 98, Gentile in 61, Trumbo in 2016, Chris Davis in 2015 and 2013, Frank Robinson in 1966, and Brady Anderson in 1996. So never 2 in the same season.
Ow. Something just stabbed me. That's what I get for doing what I was doing. I think I got a splinter or something.
1996, Palmeiro had 39 to Anderson's 50. So that's the closest they've been.
That's what I said. And then 2016.
I'm sorry. I was trying to read and listen at the same time. It didn't work out too well.
2016 was Palmeiro. I mean, not Palmeiro. Palmeiro. I think he was still playing in the minors though in 2016. He did go play with his son 1 year.
Oh yeah.
He
was like 53.
And he hit over 300. Like, I'm sorry, Rafael Palmeiro is a Hall of Famer. Like the guy hit over 300 at 53 years old playing minor league baseball. He's a Hall of Famer. And then in 2016, Chris Davis hit 38 and Trumbo hit 47. That's the two
And
closest.
Machado at 37 that year as well.
Yeah, that's the two closest years that they've had. This year, I mean, Gunnar needs 4 more, and Santander needs 1 more. I think it could happen. I really do. All right, today's show brought to you by Project Game Day. Pressbox's Project Game Day is back for another season. You can join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, and Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayambadejo. Love that name. After every Ravens game this year as they break down what happened and why and what we learned in each game. You can find the show at PressBoxOnline.com/game day. That's Pressbox's Project Game Day, every Ravens game day, all season long. And let's get into the Ravens a little bit here because this is what we do on this show during football season, Ryan. Ravens go out. I'm not going to say they laid an egg because they played hard and they were a half a toe away from tying that game up or potentially winning that. They were going to go for 2. So they were either going to win or lose that game on that final play. Kansas City, they played their starters a couple different times in the preseason. They're opening the season at home, unveiling their Super Bowl champion banner, getting their Super Bowl rings. It's Thursday Night Football. The Ravens, that entire unit hasn't played together yet. Their offensive line is brand new, hasn't played a full, maybe even full series together. Lamar Jackson was Superman, 272 yards passing, another 120 plus yards on the ground. Had the 1 passing touchdown, almost had the 2nd passing touchdown. Isaiah Likely was a beast. 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. That he looked like Lamar on that touchdown reception that he had, dodging guys and making a guy dive right in front of him and then just kind of strolling into the end zone. And he goes up in the back corner of the end zone on that final drive, lands awkwardly on his left side. He's writhing in pain. And then 2 plays later, he comes down with what would have been the game-winning touchdown pass if he wore a size 11 instead of a size 13. I don't know what size shoe he wears, but if he wore 2 sizes smaller, maybe even a size smaller, the Ravens, get that game to 27-26, going for 2 to try and win it. I told myself about that game, win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's the first game of the year. There's so much more left of the season. And if you're going to play the Chiefs, you want to play them the first game of the year because you're going to see them. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you're going to see them again in the playoffs. The Ravens hung with them all night long and had an opportunity to win that game there at the very end. All told, the defense, a little porous at times, but overall I thought that they played fairly well. The pass rush was a lot better than I expected. I think Marlon Humphrey got exposed very badly in that game. You did not hear Kyle Hamilton's name very much, but I thought Marcus Williams played exceptionally well in that football game. And it's Zach Orr's first game as a defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald didn't look too great his first game as the Ravens defensive coordinator either. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. I think there's a lot to be hopeful about moving forward, and I really think that here we go again, that the Ravens are gonna put together a resounding victory in their home opener on the 15th. The game I'm going to be at because it's 2 days after my 40th birthday party. 40th birthday. I don't know if I'm having a party or not. And my buddy Josh, who you remind me a lot of, you guys look very similar. He's taking me to that game for my birthday.
Nice. That'll be fun. Yeah. Look, there's a lot to like coming out of that game. A couple things not to like. Clock management still an issue.
Yep, always
discipline still an issue. Whether you want to blame the referees for trying to make a statement, first game of the season, or you want to blame the coaching staff or Ronnie Stanley for not making adjustments. It was kind of BS. That first drive. I think there were 3, maybe even 4. I think 1 was declined, illegal formation penalties. That's a problem. It has been for the Ravens for a while, and now with this new rule, it might be even worse. Burning 2 timeouts early in the third quarter.
That was the difference in the game.
Inexcusable. That play to Rashad Bateman, who made an incredible catch down at the 10-yard line late in the 4th. He caught that ball and went down with 37 seconds left. And the Ravens they were down to no timeout. Or I think they might have had 1, but they didn't use it at that point. They
were out of timeouts at that point.
Yeah,
and
so they run a play, and then there's 10 seconds left on the clock when that play's over, and you got second down at the goal line. It'd be nice to have been able to settle in, go take a drink of water, talk to the offensive coordinator, figure out what the plan is. But when you're out of timeouts, you can't do that. And when you lose 2 timeouts in the first 8 minutes of the second half, you're probably going to be out of timeouts by the time the end of the game comes around. So that was frustrating. The Ravens seem to be very good at getting off to a hot start and then forgetting how they succeeded. Derrick Henry had 5 carries on the first drive, and the team, despite the illegal formation penalties, looked very good. The offense looked very good on the first drive of the game, and then they stopped doing what was working for them. Derrick Henry had 8 carries the rest of the game. I don't know. There was a lot to like. There was a lot of frustration because I think that was a very winnable game. I think if you're willing to stick with what you know is working, you're going to put up 30 points in that game against the Chiefs. But despite all that, Lamar played exceptionally. He outplayed Mahomes as far as I'm concerned. Like you said, Isaiah Likely was a beast. It was really cool to see David Ojabo get his first career sack. You could tell how excited he was.
I don't think that was his first career sack. I thought he had one last year early before he got hurt.
Did he play? Oh, I didn't even remember he played last year, to be honest. I don't know. You could see the.
I think he sacked Joe Burrow.
Okay, yeah. Well, you could see the excitement from him heading back to the sideline to get that one under his belt against Mahomes. So really happy for him. Hopefully he can stay healthy and have a productive year for us. Marlon, I agree. Like it's a tough task guarding the fastest player in the league. But yeah, that was tough on that second Xavier Worthy touchdown. I thought if there's one thing I'd like to see from Zach Orr, it's, why are we putting linebackers on slot receivers?
Yeah.
Especially when that slot receiver is Rashee Rice. And we saw, I think he had 3 catches on their first drive, kept going over the middle, wide open, easy plays, because they had a linebacker lined up against him. Malik Harrison was in there trying to guard Rashee Rice. That's not going to work. So, I think figuring out the personnel a little bit is going to be big. But all in all, a lot of positives to take away from this game, I thought.
Yeah, the fact that Rashee Rice, with everything he was involved in the offseason, was even playing in that game is kind of ridiculous. But the Steelers have a corner who threw his girlfriend out of a third-story window, and he only got suspended 8 games. So, that's attempted murder. That's attempted murder on a woman as a man who's in the NFL, and he only got suspended 8 games. But you know what? Who the hell knows?
He's facing a felony charge, and he didn't even get as much as a 1-game suspension. That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I digress. It's they're going to play a lot better. I think they're gonna shore up some of those defensive blunders, some of those offensive blunders. Let me ask you something. I actually do have a little bit more time because our time that we're leaving for my I have a team building event today with my branch, and I was supposed to be at the branch by 11:45, but now it's noon, so I have a little bit more time. At the end of the second half of the Ravens trying to score, at the end of the first half and the second half of the Ravens trying to score, they're in the red zone, and Derrick Henry's not on the field at any point. It's all Justice Hill. And I get it that you're trying to you want a guy who's going to catch passes for you. Derrick Henry's caught plenty of passes in his career, and he's fast. He can bowl people over. You're not going to see Justice Hill bowl people over. You're going to see him make people miss, but not the way that Derrick Henry does. This was your big offseason acquisition. You would forego getting an offensive lineman to get Derrick Henry, and then he's standing on the sideline in the red zone when your team needs a score. And it's not like this is a thing that's never been done by the Ravens before, because when you had Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, when they were in the red zone at times, you would see Justice Hill. I remember there's a game, Justice Hill with Dobbins and Gus Edwards on the sideline. There's a game where Justice Hill got 7 consecutive snaps in the red zone while those guys stood on the sideline. Did you have a problem with Derrick Henry not being in the game in those 2 situations where the Ravens need a score? That's what that guy does. He scores touchdowns.
Yeah, and even if you're probably not going to use him, he's going to take some attention away from other guys for sure. And whether you want to try to sneak in an option handoff or something, and or try to hit him with a little dump off pass in the flat, and he has a few yards to kind of get a little head of steam, that's when he's most dangerous. When he can get some momentum behind him, like you said, he's going to bowl people over. And of course you want, after that first drive, it's like, oh, we have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry together because they both looked very good. Henry, despite a poor offensive line play. You want to see those 2 guys on the field when you need to score a touchdown. Why do you have both of them on your team? It's so you can put up more points. When you're in a position to score points, have them both on the field. it might be an elementary way of thinking about it, but I think it's a no-brainer. You want your
That guy.
best guys on the field. It's the same reason why I want Gunnar Henderson batting leadoff. It's because I
Mhm.
want him to have an opportunity to make an impact as often as possible, more than anybody else. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are those guys. They should both be on the field when you're trying to put up points. I think it's that simple. And I'm not as a cerebral football fan as I am with baseball, but I think that's pretty basic. I might be
Yeah,
wrong.
I think having Derrick Henry on the field when you need a score that's pretty obvious to me. Um, let's get back to baseball because we lost more than half of our viewers as soon as we started talking about football. So let's get back to baseball. We'll go to our viewer interaction now. AJ McCurdy, here we go with the Sports Junkie Show. Can't wait for the Ravens segment at the end. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, but yeah, that's what we do. Thanks for tuning in. AJ's here with us every week, so it's awesome. AJ, sorry, I'll show that. Forgot that I would need to show these comments. AJ goes on to say, any news on Danny Coulombe's return date? Nobody has anything. They're being very hush hush, but I do know that he threw off a mound recently,
I
which
saw
is
that
good.
he threw, I think they said between 16 and 20 pitches to a trio of Orioles bench bats. I think it was like Levon Soto, a couple other guys. So he has faced live hitting. I'm hoping we see him on a rehab assignment pretty soon. I know Jacob Webb, they're still, I believe, determining if he's going to have a second rehab outing, but
Third. It would be a third.
a third, I'm sorry. Yeah, so look, Coulombe and Webb are two guys I certainly want back as soon as possible. If they need a little extra rest so we have them fresh for the playoffs, that's fine with me too, as long as we get those two back in the bullpen at some point.
100%. AJ also says, do you think Jackson Holiday should be the shortstop and Gunnar the third baseman? Have you seen Jackson throw? No chance.
His arm is super concerning.
Yeah.
I don't even like his arm at second base. I
I
love
don't like,
Jackson Holiday. I think
I
he's gonna be
do.
fine. I think
I
he
don't like
kind of
his arm second either.
he takes his time on his throws and then they're still not great. No.
And he kind of lollipops him,
Yeah.
you know? Like they're
Yeah.
not. His arm leaves a lot to be desired. No chance do I'd put Jordan Westbrook at shortstop before I put Jackson Holiday there.
Me too.
Yeah. Joshua Foster says, I was bumping the intro music too, watching almost live for once, Adbird for Life 4049. I think this is the first time you ever commented on the show, man. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for viewing. Yeah, I feel like Restream changes the music. Like the hip hop music was different from week to week. The chill hop music, different. So I'm hoping that chill music stays the same because that'll be our music moving forward, but it's probably going to change by the time we do our next show. But thanks for tuning in, Josh. AJ, to me, the team now is a beer league softball team. They can't manufacture runs. However, Connor Newcomb said on his show this works in the playoffs with the Braves, Astros, and Rangers recently. Is this true? I have no way to know that. Like, I have no way to back up what Connor said. I mean, yeah, you want to have some thumpers in there, but I do think that like you need to be able to manufacture runs. Like I said, I'm very John Smoltz when it comes to baseball. I like bunting to get runners over. I like hitting sac flies, hitting ground balls to the right side with a runner on third base in less than 2 outs. I like that stuff, and I think it's necessary to be a good team. So for me, I don't think they're a beer league softball team. You think of beer league softball team, you think of like the 2016 Orioles. That's a beer league softball team. This team, they have all the talent in the world. They just go cold collectively. Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about because on one hand, like when you're trying to scrape out runs, you need all the runs you can get, right? At the same time, in the playoffs, let's say you get runners on first and second with 1 out. Do you want to bunt them over to second and third and give Framber Valdez or Garrett Cole or, Zach Wheeler a free out? Or do you want to try to hit a 3-run homer off of him? It's kind of a catch-22, I think. And I think it really depends on the situation. I think there are situations in the playoffs where you need to just get the one guy in. I think there are other situations where, and I did see Connor's clip on this. There are other situations where, like, you're more likely to put up a big inning by hitting a 3-run homer than by putting together 4, 5, 6 hits in a row against an elite pitcher. And all you're going to face in the playoffs is elite pitching. So I think it really is a situational thing, but I do think it can work in the playoffs depending on that scenario.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point. If you can get a big home run instead of trying to string together 5 or 6 hits, that's an excellent point. It's going to be a case by case basis, and we'll certainly see because the Orioles are not that far off from being in the playoffs. So we're going to see here in just a matter of a few weeks. Big Town Sports, love this guy. He's a great follow on X. Anytime I say X, I want to go like this, like Steve Perry and Journey in their what's the video for the someday love will find you. He goes like this, like 15 times in that video. It's like nonstop for him. Anyway, Pigtown Sports on X is a great follow.
Speaking of softball, teammate of mine. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, that's awesome. He also says, he said, good morning, gentlemen. Morning to you too. It's still morning. Concerns me that 0 drafted pitchers since 2019 have debuted with the Orioles. I didn't realize that Cade Povich had been drafted by the Twins. I think he came over with Yunior Cano in the trade with for Jorge Lopez. That's right.
Lopez,
yeah. It's a problem. I mean, Seth Johnson wasn't drafted by the Orioles either. It's a problem, but they also 2019 was that first draft that the Orioles had with Mike Elias, and they are notorious for taking college bats, and that's like what they do top to bottom throughout every draft that he's been the head of. You were hoping that Carter Bowman could be something, but that guy can't stay healthy. I think he's really good when he's healthy, but when's that ever going to happen for him? It just seems like, would be nice to see somebody debut that the Orioles drafted as a pitcher, but maybe they should start taking pitchers higher in the draft. I don't know. I think it's a glaring weakness of the system, the lack of pitching prospects that they have.
Jackson Baumeister is the highest pitcher that they've taken in the draft since 2019, and he just got traded. So yeah, it's a trend that's looks like, at least for the immediate future, it's going to continue.
Yeah, and he's tearing it up in the minors for Tampa Bay, pitching really well. I think he struck out like 10 in a game the other day.
I could see Brandon Young being that guy. I believe we drafted him. I don't know if we drafted him after 2019, but I don't know. He's on the cusp, it seems.
Randall Fracase says Adley should lay down a bunt or two just to get on without walking and changes the tempo. I don't think Adley's bunted a day in his life. I don't think Adley has laid down a bunt since he was 7 years old. Not that he can't do it. I think Adley is a very good baseball player. One thing, his swing is super slow. His swing speed is like 70 miles an hour. You compare that to like Alfonso Soriano, who always had the fastest swing speed in the league, like 114 miles an hour. And you look at it, maybe not that high.
I was gonna say that's.
I want to let me. I
don't think we have that data because it was so far before Statcast. But
no, I remember them talking about it.
Huh.
Back in the day, Alfonso Soriano's swing speed. Let's see. I know that dude swung harder than anybody in the league. I remember that much. Is he even going to have anything about that? Probably not. Because 114, that is stupid.
I'm trying to find the Statcast leaderboard so I can see what like the best of the best is right now.
Yeah. I don't know what is. I don't think they have anything for swing speed on here. But anyway, Adley to me, what's up?
I was just say Juan Soto's 93rd percentile, and his average bat speed is 75.5 miles an hour.
Really,
114 would be absurd.
Yeah,
he did swing super hard though.
He swung super hard.
People forget how much fun to watch Alfonso Soriano was.
Alfonso Soriano can eat a box of zucchinis, man. I was at a game where he was playing left field for the Yankees, and somebody for the Orioles looked like they hit a home run. I was about where your seats are, and I saw from there that he leapt up and caught the ball. I saw it. Somehow nobody else in the stadium knew it, and he's walking back acting like he didn't catch it, and then he shows the ball, and that's when I really started to hate him. Anybody that plays for the Yankees, like that's like one of the reasons I hate Jose Bautista with the Blue Jays, the crap that he would pull. Like to me, it was like you can go get effed.
And once he went to the Yankees, of course, didn't root for him anymore. But when he was with the Cubs and the Nats, like that dude was fun.
Yeah, he was fun then, but being on the Yankees, screw him. Didn't he play for the Rangers at one
I think
point?
so, yeah.
Oh. Anyway, somehow we ended up talking about Alfonso Soriano on this show. Isn't the matching number some combination of wins by Orioles, losses by last time out that leads to 10?
Last team out, I think he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's 11 right now for the Mariners. The Orioles matching number because the Mariners have played one less game and they're 71-70 to the Orioles 82-60. But
That's
the Orioles,
the Red Sox. The Mariners are 72-60.
no, the Mariners are.
Boston,
Oh yeah,
Boston's
Mariners
71-60.
70. They're 71-70, and the Mariners are 72-70. Which is weird that the Orioles magic number then. I guess why would the Orioles magic number over them be 11 then? It's really 10 because they won the season series against them.
Right.
And they have a 10-game lead over them. So it's got to be 10.
Yeah.
If they finished with the same record, the Orioles would make the playoffs and the Mariners wouldn't.
Right, because if the let's all right, so the best way to look at it, if the Mariners were to win out, they would be 92-70. For the Orioles to get to 92-70, they need to win 10 games. And really, they need to 10 games. So the magic number currently is 10 when you incorporate the tiebreaker.
Let's see.
Because they would just have to tie with the Mariners in the overall standings.
Yeah, they went 4-2 against Seattle. So yeah, absolutely. The magic number should be 10 already. They're probably not taking into account the tiebreaker there.
Correct.
But yeah, so it's September 7th, and the Orioles, with everything that's going on this year, they have the best record in the American League, and we're talking about a magic number on our September 7th show. That's pretty awesome. And then Adit says, is Andrew still feeling the effects of his leg injury last year, car accident? They did that whole thing on, I mean, I don't know. Like Ryan, there's no chance that we would know that, but they did that whole segment on him before the game or during the game yesterday on Thursday, where they showed him like going through drills with his brother and working out at home and stuff like that, and how he's saying he's finally back to 100%. I mean, he and Isaiah Likely had almost the exact same number of snaps, and Likely I think had 11 targets to Andrew's 7. But Andrews only had 2 catches. I mean, Likely at this point in his career, like Mark Andrews, he's only 29. He's still a very good tight end. But Andrews is a little bit more. Likely is a little bit more dynamic. He's got a little bit more athleticism and ability to, wrangle free. And like that play that touchdown that Lamar threw to him, it looked like Lamar was throwing that ball away. And the next thing you know, you see Likely come back for the ball, make that first guy miss, run down the sideline, and then whoop, as the guy dives right in front of him, and then just stroll into the end zone. Like, you're not seeing Mark Andrews really do that. Andrews is more, he's got sneaky speed for his size, and he can throw guys off of him. And you've seen him running down the field with guys falling off his back. That's more his game, whereas Likely is a more dynamic player where he can make you miss a type of situation. I think that the Ravens are going to use both of them pretty equally as the season progresses.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right. That's great addition.
Yeah.
I
agree.
That's going to do it for us here on the Bat Around. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you so much to all of our loyal listeners, viewers, fans. Without you, we 100%